Row for Show Productions presents Humble Beginnings, the Undrafted podcast. Welcome to Humble Beginnings, the Undrafted podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Hamilton Jr. So thankful to be able to come to you on this platform. We got a great show for you today. Man, we're going to be talking about the Final Four, and man, Texas Tech, the men's basketball team of Texas Tech, they are in the Final Four for the first time in school history. So I'm so happy for the Texas Tech men's basketball team. You know, they're located in Lubbock, just 2 hours south of my hometown of Amarillo, Texas. So I'm looking forward to see if the Texas Tech men's basketball team will be able to bring the championship home to good old Lubbock, Texas. And I'm in and I'm out. The Alliance of American Football, they suspended football operations this past Tuesday, and this situation is it's very, very fishy, and it's very, very fluid. But as of right now, with everything that has come out about this situation, I am not feeling how the Alliance of American Football management conducted this entire deal. They really let the players and coaches and fans down with this entire situation. And what's the wave with Chef Rodaddy? I'm going to do my best to dispel some workout myths. Since I've been consistently on this fitness journey, I get a lot of people who ask me a lot of different questions about working out and things like that. And there's a lot of workout myths that are out there that's kind of leading people in the wrong direction when it comes to them going to the gym. So you have some people out there who are working out with the wrong ideas and the wrong viewpoints on some things. So I'm going to do my best to dispel some of those workout myths. And this is some bulljive. Conor McGregor, man, this dude, he's always on one. Conor McGregor said some derogatory remarks about Khabib's wife and his religion. And those are two things that you don't degrade a man on. It's his family and his religious beliefs. You don't do that. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the show with The Low with Ro. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are in the Final Four for the first time in school history. Bruh, this run by the Texas Tech men's basketball team is exactly what March Madness is all about. Now, I love underdog squads and Cinderella picks, and the fact that Texas Tech is located just 2 hours south of my hometown of Amarillo, I want these fellas to win it all. Now, the Red Raiders, they turned in one of the biggest upsets of the tournament by beating Gonzaga last Saturday, 75-69. Now, sure, Michigan State, they beat Duke. That was a big upset. Sure, Auburn, they knocked out North Carolina. Both of these were big upsets. But this Texas Tech squad is one that has gotten very little respect all season long. Not too many people outside of the biggest Red Raiders fans and supporters saw this coming. Now, the analytics site 538, they gave Texas Tech a 14% chance to make it to the Final Four. So the fact that Texas Tech is in this position right now is astonishing. Now, that's great and all, but the game where Texas Tech had me amazed was that game between them and Michigan, because that was really the first time I've actually had a chance to see Texas Tech in action all season. And that game was straight up fire. Now, that Texas Tech defense ain't no joke, man. That Texas Tech defense is for real. Now, both Michigan and Texas Tech are tough defensive squads, and they both rebound really well. But Reggie Miller, who was he was one of the announcers for last Thursday's game, and he said, you know, at the beginning of the contest that the first team to 50 points would win the game. Now, when he said that, I honestly thought he was joking, because I'm sitting here like, when he said that, I was like, man, you know, surely this is just some kind of figure of speech, or, you know, him trying to be funny, because at the end of the day, this is March Madness. So I'm thinking that we're going to see a lot more offense than that. But it turns out that Reggie Miller was a prophet, because Texas Tech held Michigan to 44 points, and they got the dub. Now, if you want to know the biggest element to Texas Tech's success, it is defense, defense, defense. Now, that 44-point total was remarkable. When you look at how a team is well regarded as Michigan is, the fact that Texas Tech was able to hold them to 44 points and suffocate them on the scoreboard is remarkable. Now, Gonzaga, they did a little bit better against Tech. They scored 69 points in the Elite Eight matchup. And even then, they were the first team to break 60 points on this Texas Tech squad in the entire tournament. And Gonzaga, they are a great offensive squad. Now, they're the number 2 offensive squad in the country when you factor in all the fancy stats and all of that. So that's what makes what this Red Raider team is doing, it makes it all the more spectacular. Now, another thing that I like about this Texas Tech squad is they're just straight up fun to watch. I mean, underdog teams are fun to watch by default just because of the, just because of the suspense and things like that they tend to come with. But this Texas Tech squad is scrappy and efficient, and they win games not only just by playing well, but they're playing so well that they're forcing the opposition to commit sloppy fouls and sloppy plays. And when you can do that, when you're able to force your opposition into making mistakes, that's half the battle. I mean, that makes being able to get the dub that much easier. Now, they iced the game against the Zags on a technical foul in the last few seconds. They held Michigan to 6 points and 6 turnovers in Michigan's first 15 possessions. Now, Michigan, they finished the game with 14 turnovers overall. On top of the fact that even though Michigan was getting up shots, because Michigan, they got up a lot of shots, but they also missed a lot of them. Now, there may be people that say that, hey, Texas Tech defense was great, but Michigan missed a lot of shots. They may use that as a shot against the Texas Tech defense. But even though Michigan was getting up a lot of shots, they were a lot of contested shots. So Texas Tech's defense was still doing its job in that game. Now, Michigan, they were 0 for 13 in three-point shooting last Thursday. And then you have the players on Texas Tech. Now, the two who stood out to me on Texas Tech squad are Jarrett Culver and Davide Moretti, the Italian stallion. Davide Moretti was Texas Tech's best three-point shooter last Thursday against Michigan. He hit 4 threes in the beginning of the second half, and he didn't miss a single shot until 6 minutes were left in the game. Now, I also thought it was really cool how his family, they flew in from Italy to watch him play in person. And, man, look here, this little brother, he gave them their money's worth, no doubt. And then there's Lubbock native Jarrett Culver. Now, he's the team's best player. He's a shooting guard who's also known for breaking out in the second half, even against the best of game plans. Now, he's expected to enter the NBA draft soon after the tournament, and he's likely to become the first top 5 pick from Texas Tech since Tony Batty did it in 1997. Now, Texas is known as a football state. We all know that, and indeed it is. That will never, ever change. But Texas ain't too bad when it comes to pro basketball either. Now, 8 of the last 25 NBA championships have been won by either the Rockets, the Spurs, or the Mavericks. And, of course, the Spurs have the most titles over that time span. Now, when it comes to the collegiate level, Texas Tech is trying its hardest to change the state's rep in college basketball. Now, this Tech squad is the first squad from Texas to make it this far in the tournament since the 2003 Longhorns. Now, this Final Four is a sexy one. If you're into underdogs and unfamiliar squads getting this far, Texas Tech and Auburn, they're both in the Final Four for the first time in each program's history. Virginia, they're going to the Final Four for the first time since 1984. And Michigan State, well, they're the only team with deep experience here because this is head coach Tom Izzo's 9th trip. And I think he's been at Michigan State for like 24 or 23 years, something like that. Now, when it comes to this Final Four is wide open. So wide open, you could drive a Mack truck through it. Now, Texas Tech, they face off with Michigan State, and Virginia, they face off with Auburn. Both games are tomorrow the 6th. Virginia, they take on Auburn at 5:09 Central Time, and Texas Tech, they take on Michigan State at 7:49 Central Time. This is why I love this time of year, because it ain't no madness like March Madness. Now it's time for I'm in and I'm out. The Alliance of American Football suspended all football operations this past Tuesday. Now, the move came several weeks after Carolina Hurricane owner Tom Dundon committed $250 million in funding, thus becoming the majority owner. This announcement sent shockwaves around the football community because the Alliance of American Football was marketed as a developmental league for the NFL with innovative technology and officiating. Now, it was also NFL-style coaching experience for young coaches who needed it to help diversify NFL coaching circles. Now, it goes without saying, but I'm 100% out on how this whole thing went down. The Alliance of American Football lasted all of 52 days, not even a full 2 months. Now, I hate this on multiple levels because, one, this was a really, really good product. It was innovative, like with the camera and the mic in the instant replay booth. They had sensors in the football. They had sensors in the players' uniforms that fed back real-time information during the game for fantasy football purposes. I mean, they had the no kickoff rule. They had all this innovation in this league. This was a really good product that the Alliance had. Now, there's rumors and speculation that Tom Dundon purchased the league to steal the technology, but only time will tell if that's actually true. And even if it is true, I mean, it's not really going to matter because he can't do that. Because one, he didn't own the technology itself. And then two, that's illegal. I mean, he would get sued in a heartbeat if that were the case. But, I still don't get the reason for them shutting this league down all of a sudden. I mean, this really just all of a sudden happened this past Tuesday. I mean, it had everything it needed to succeed. They had great funding support. They had strong TV partners. They had very strong TV ratings. They had no football competition in the spring. I mean, they wanted to form a partnership with the NFL Players Association to, basically borrow NFL players who were at the bottom of NFL rosters or, were on roster bubbles. And the NFL Players Association, they entertained the idea, but, for whatever reason, it never materialized. But, even with that, I have a hard time believing that played a big part in bringing this league down as fast as it went down. And another reason why I hate this is because I just thoroughly enjoyed watching the Alliance of American Football. I thoroughly enjoyed watching their games. I mean, it brought fresh new ideas to the game of football, and it gave guys looks and experience for a potential future in the NFL. And then on top of that, there were several guys who played in the NFL who were on these teams' rosters, and a lot of them were trying to get back to the NFL. So it gave those guys an opportunity. It gave those guys an opportunity to really show that, hey, I can play with the top dogs. I can play with the best of the best in this game. And even then, if nothing else, it gave guys a chance to continue playing the game that they love so much. Now, some sports writers, they talked about how when they spoke with some of the Alliance coaches and players, that they showed up for normal practice and they were told to go home. Now, they didn't have a warning or anything. Now, how low and how trashy is that? Like, you show up for work thinking, everything is, it's the same old, same old. I'm going to work, I'm going to practice to do what I got to do and get ready for this game. And you show up and then they're telling you you don't have a job. I mean, I can't believe how this played out. Now, if that proves to be true, Tom Dundon and the Alliance of American Football Management, they should be straight up ashamed of themselves because these are people's lives that you're dealing with here. I mean, these are grown men. They have wives and kids. They have families. I mean, this was a trash move by Tom Dundon and the Alliance management. I mean, because at the end of the day, they screwed over a lot of people. Now, when it comes down to the players' contracts were immediately terminated and they received no severance pay. Their last check was for last week's games. So now you have a lot of players, coaches, ticket personnel, custodians, concession personnel, groundskeepers, security guards, and others who are out of jobs because a few rich guys basically had a squabble. Now, there has to be more to this story than has been released, and it's still a fluid situation because this just happened this past Tuesday. But there's way too many holes in this story for this to make any sense as of right now. Now, to show you how unorganized and how cheap they were with running this league, Albert Breer of the NFL Network said on Twitter that only players and coaches were allowed to eat on the team plane. Docs, trainers, equipment personnel, they weren't fed by the team. They basically had to bring their own food. Night before the game, team dinners were eliminated. Players were given a $30 per diem instead. Now, $30 per player may sound like a lot, but when you have to consider the fact that these are professional athletes with extremely high metabolisms. I don't think $30 would have done a whole lot to feed these guys with the amount of food that they have to eat just to, basically maintain. So I don't know, man. I just, this whole deal is this whole thing is disheartening with the way this happened. There was an anonymous player who said that players were told by AAF management that they have their hotel room until this coming Sunday, and then after that they have to leave. And not only that, they have to find their own way home. This was a trash move by Tom Dundon and the Alliance of American Football Management. I don't see how these guys will be able to sleep at night, but the people at the top of this, the people that control this, they have to be ashamed of themselves because this right here, this is definitely some bulljive. What's the wave with Chef Rodaddy? This is the part of the podcast where I talk about fitness or wellness or, however you want to put it. Part of being fit is working out properly and getting the proper nutrition so you can be the best version of yourself that you can be. Now, through the years, I've heard several workout myths that really irk my nerves because people go in the gym with these workout myths, and then they're doing some of the wrong things in the gym. They're going in with the wrong ideas, putting themselves at risk for injury and just terrible results at the end of the day. Now, I get asked a lot of these questions often, so I'm going to try to put to bed some popular workout myths that tend to give folks the wrong idea about hitting the gym. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Myth number 1, you can't build muscle and burn fat at the same time. I'm not sure where folks get this or where this came from, but people tend to believe it for whatever reason. But you can absolutely build muscle and burn fat at the same time. Now, if you're talking about adding, 20 or 30 pounds of muscle mass in a few months, then that's totally a different deal. And even then, if you're adding that kind of mass on in that short amount of time, there's a chance that a lot of that isn't actually muscle. But you can build muscle and burn fat at the same time by having a steady mix of weightlifting and cardio. And I can tell you from experience because that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's the main way of how I've been dropping fat and losing weight and things like that. Now, what you do is you mix strength training with endurance training when you lift. Now, that means mixing strength training and endurance training when you're lifting weights means that sometimes, some days you may lift heavy, where you're going for a heavier weight, but anywhere from 5 to 10 reps. That's really what it means when you're strength training. Now, endurance training and lifting is where you go lighter on the weights, but you go heavy on the reps, 20 to 30 reps in a set. Now, personally, I wouldn't go higher than 30. Now, some people do 15 to 20 reps. Some people do 20 to 30 reps, and either one is fine. But me personally, I wouldn't advise going over 30 reps because once you start getting over 30 reps, you tend to run the risk of injuring the muscle, because the point of doing a lot of reps is you want to fatigue the muscle to build up the endurance in it and tone it up. But if you do too many reps, you're running the risk of overworking the muscle. And when you start overworking a muscle, that's where you start running into the pulls and the strains, the rips and the tears and things like that. So, like I say, anywhere from 15 to 20 reps or 20 to 30 reps in a set, that's endurance training. And you get a good burn when you do that too. And trust me, it tests your endurance. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. Now, you mix that kind of weight training, strength training, and endurance training on the weights. Now, you mix that with HIIT cardio, high intensity interval training cardio, 2 to 4 times a week. And trust me, when you mix those aspects of working out, you can build muscle and burn fat at the same time. Next one, myth number 2. Crunches are a good way to get a six-pack. Now, this right here is only partly true, but this is actually a myth, because while crunches are a great way to work your ab muscles and get them stronger and make your core overall stronger, they aren't the key to getting a six-pack. I know that's surprising to hear. Now, if a six-pack is what you truly desire, then doing a bunch of crunches and a bunch of ab exercises alone won't get it done. Now, to get a six-pack, you have to have your nutrition in check. That's the number one thing when it comes to showing off their abs. Now, because abs are made in the kitchen. You get your nutrition right. That's going to be the number one key to showing off those abs. Because here's the thing with abs. Literally everybody on planet Earth has abs. And I'm not saying that to be funny. Everybody is born with abs. The thing with abs is when you do crunches and ab exercises and things like that, it makes them stronger and it makes them more defined. But you can do all the crunches and ab exercises that you want. And if you're not eating right, you still won't be able to see them because you're going to have fat that's on top of them. That's on top of the abdominal wall. So in order for your abs to show, not only do you have to do crunches and core exercises and things like that, but you have to get your nutrition right, first of all. Then you have to do cardio to burn the fat off the top of the abdominal wall. So that's why when I hear people say, I'm going to do some crunches and core exercises and things like that to get rid of this belly, well, you're not going to get rid of the fat. You're just going to get rid of the fat that's on top of the abdominal wall. But most belly fat, if you have a big belly, the majority of your belly fat is under the abdominal wall. That's where that's the deep fat. And that's the fat where you have to run and you have to, really work that fat out. The only way you're going to get that fat out is basically through cardio and mixing strength training with endurance training and things like that. But that's another story. So in order for you to really get those six-pack abs that you want, get your nutrition right. And, of course, continue to do the core exercises and crunches and things like that. But get your nutrition right. So crunches and ab exercises, they build the ab muscles, but you got to be able to see them. And the only way you're going to be able to show off that hard work that you've been doing through crunches and core exercises and things, planks and stuff like that, the only way to show that off is to get your nutrition right and then hit the cardio, hit that treadmill, hit the elliptical. That's the way you show off those six-pack abs. Myth number 3, the fastest way to lose fat is with cardio. This is false. Now, don't get me wrong. Cardio is an extremely effective way to drop fat and burn off all that excess energy that is stored in your body, because that's basically all fat is. Fat is literally energy that is stored up in your body that your body has not used. And when your body doesn't use energy, it stores it. Now, cardio is the best way to get rid of all this energy, but in order for cardio to do its job properly, I'm going right back to it. Your nutrition has to be right. Because fat loss comes about by maintaining a calorie deficit. So you have to count your calories and you have to watch your portions. That's the best way to lose fat. Now, I'm going to give you an example here of why it's important to count calories. Now, if you go and eat, let's say, a double bacon cheeseburger, that's 1,240 calories that you just took in. I'm not even counting the fries and the drink and things like that. So with that double cheeseburger, for those 1,240 calories that you took in on that cheeseburger, you would have to run 2 hours and 12 minutes just to burn that off and get back to your baseline. That's why it is so important to count calories when you're talking about dropping fat. And because remember, 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So if you go and you eat 1,240 calories in that cheeseburger, you just ate a third of a pound of fat. And you're going to have to work even harder to get rid of that. So in order for your body to drop fat, you have to maintain a calorie deficit. And you maintain a calorie deficit, you drink a lot of water, you eat a lot of vegetables, and eat 2 to 3 servings of fresh fruit a day. That's the best way. That's really the only way where fat loss is going to come, because you can lose. You don't necessarily have to do cardio to lose fat. And the reason why I say that is because I've seen people personally lose, 5, 10, 15 pounds just by changing their diet, just by not drinking the soda, just by cutting out a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, a lot of bread. I've seen people do that. Now, if you have a considerable amount of body fat to lose, then of course, yeah, you're going to have to get on cardio. Now, even though cardio may not be the fastest way to lose body fat, the fastest way is, of course, getting your nutrition in balance. But cardio is definitely the best way to lose body fat. Cardio and nutrition, those are going to be your best friend when it comes to losing body fat. Myth number 4, if you're not sweating, puking, etc., you're not working hard enough. Now, I don't know where this one came from. Well, this is like that old school way of thinking. I mean, they used to tell us this in football and things like that. But this is actually a myth, because now when it comes to sweating is simply just a regulation of body temperature. Like when your body temperature rises, your body sweats to act as a cooling mechanism. That's all it is. Now, some people sweat a lot when they work out because they have a naturally higher body temperature. And I am one of those people because, man, when I work out, I sweat buckets when I work out, man, especially on my cardio days. Oh, my goodness. Now, some people don't sweat very much at all when they work out. Some people just have a lower body temperature than other people. And that's where you kind of get people who are colder than other people. They have a naturally lower body temperature. So if you're not sweating a lot when you're working out, doesn't mean you're not putting in work. It just means that your body temperature may be lower than other people. Now, when it comes to puking, a lot of times this is improper breathing and not getting enough oxygen to your stomach. Now, when it comes to working out, man, people discount how important proper breathing is, but proper breathing is essential no matter what kind of workout you're doing, whether it's cardio, whether it's lifting weights, whatever workout you're doing. Proper breathing is essential when it comes to this. Now, breathing wrong can cause you to pass out from lack of oxygen to your brain as well. That's why a lot of times when you see these YouTube videos and these Instagram videos of people lifting heavy weight, because a lot of times what you'll see people do is they'll lift like a lot of heavy weight with deadlifts or squats or some kind of power clean or something like that. And once they finish the rep or once they finish the motion, they pass out. And that's from not breathing properly. Your brain is not receiving the oxygen from proper breathing while you're doing the exercise. And as a result, you pass out. So sweating and puking should not be gauges for how hard or how effective you're working out. at all. Like, get rid of that logic. Now, a lot of this has to do with how well conditioned you are and what your natural body temperature is. Kill that myth. Myth number 5, more is better, i.e. overtraining is a good thing. This is false. Overtraining is the worst thing you can do when it comes to working out or exercising. Now, there's a difference between pushing your body past its limits and completely overworking your body to the point that it's not healthy. Overtraining will cause you to get injured. Overtraining will cause you to get strains, pulls, rips, tears, in some cases even breaks. Now, once you get to that point, this is where you have to listen to your body, because your body talks to you. Now, whether or not you actually listen to it is another deal, but your body talks to you. Now, once you start getting just, if you're going to the point where you're just sore and things like that, your muscles just hurt and it hurts to lift, or maybe you're not as strong as you were the day before, things like that, that's basically a sign that your body is telling you that you need to taper it down a little bit. Now, like I said, there's a difference between pushing your body past its limits and then just completely working your body to the point past exhaustion where you're overtraining. And this is really more of like a personal deal where you just have to listen to your body. Now, I encourage everybody to push your body to the limits, push your body past the limit, but never, ever, ever overtrain. Now, once and keeping yourself from overtraining can be something as simple as just getting the proper rest and recovery days in your schedule. Now, that's one thing I can say. And I see people, with this no days off when it comes to gym training and things like that. I don't buy into no days off at all. Like, you need at least one rest day in there. If you're working out 6 days a week, you need at least one rest day. Now, I know a lot of people, they work out 5 days a week and they get 2 days off of rest, and that's perfect. But, whatever your schedule is, you do need proper rest and recovery days in there, because rest and recovery are just as important as consistently working out to see big results. In other words, your body and your muscles needs time to recover, period. I mean, there is a such thing as doing too much. You can do too much cardio, you can lift too much weight, and it will have the negative results. Push yourself hard and push yourself past the limit, but never, ever, ever overtrain. Now it's time for the last segment of the Undrafted podcast. This is some bulljive. Conor McGregor made some derogatory remarks about Khabib's wife and religion earlier this week on Twitter. Now, Khabib, he responded by calling Conor McGregor, quote, a rapist. Now, if you remember, Khabib beat Conor back in a fight back in October, and then when the fight was over, there was a brawl outside the ring afterwards. This is the thing with Conor McGregor, man. I mean, this is vintage Conor McGregor. He's basically trying to sell a fight. And with me, I think this move right here by Conor McGregor is him asking for a rematch with Khabib. Now, the thing is, I'm all for Conor McGregor, antagonizing the guy, hey, you're trash, you suck, this and that and the other. I'm all for that. That's a good way to sell a fight. Selling fights, that goes all the way back to the days of like Muhammad Ali and those guys. Muhammad Ali, he was one of the best trash talkers of all time leading up to fights. So I'm all for guys, trash talking and things like that. But when you get personal like this, when you talk about a man's wife, when you talk about a man's religion, I mean, that's where you're crossing the line, because, I mean, there's been people that have killed over their religion. There has been people that have killed over their wives. You don't mess with a man's family, and you don't mess with a man's religion. And that's just one of those things. This, like I said, this is vintage Conor McGregor, he constantly toes the line. He constantly goes over the line when he's trying to promote fights or when he's trying to get some hype for whatever reason. He did this same thing when he was trying to hype up the fight between him and Floyd Mayweather about a year and a half, 2 years ago, or whenever that was. Whenever he was hyping that fight up, he got very racial, and I think he said a few homophobic things as well leading up to that fight. And I was actually surprised that Floyd Mayweather didn't, kind of jump on him earlier than that with some of the things that he said to Floyd Mayweather. But, at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather, he knows the business as well. So I guess I wasn't all that surprised that Floyd handled it the way he did. But, with this right here, this dude, Khabib, has already beat Conor McGregor he already beat him in the octagon. And in that fight, he choked him out. But in that fight as well, I mean, it was a few times in there where the ref had to pull Khabib up off of him. So, that fight could have been over faster than what it was. And I mean, when you're talking about their fighting style is different, because Khabib, I mean, this seems like this dude can do it all. Conor McGregor, he's a striker, but this dude, Khabib, I mean, he can basically box and he can get you on the ground. But with Conor McGregor, he's tall and lean, so you get him on the ground, it's not a whole lot he can do. So I'm not really sure I'm not really sure why he feels the need to keep antagonizing these dudes, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, man, I've been over Conor McGregor for a while because, a lot of times it's fake hype with him leading up to these fights, and it's just a way to promote and get money and things like that. And like I said, I'm all for promoting stuff, but leave a man's family and leave a man's religion out of it, because those are two things where that will really, really get you hurt by the wrong one. And with this dude specifically, part of me wonders, is this like a ploy by Conor McGregor to kind of get in this dude's psyche? So even if he does agree to this fight, maybe it's like he'll go in there with so much rage that, he'll just go in there with like a blind rage and be swinging all over the place, trying to hit McGregor and things like that, get him off his balance, get him off of his game. But I don't know what Conor is doing with this right here. Now, he tried to come out later in the day on Twitter and give like some, basically PR mumbo jumbo about respecting everybody's religion and this and that and the other, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. Chances are Conor McGregor didn't even write that tweet. It's probably his PR guy or somebody that said that. But this right here, Conor McGregor needs to stop this right here. You can trash talk and antagonize all you want leading up to a fight, but when it comes down to personal stuff, religion and family and things like that, let that go. Conor McGregor, this right here, this is that bulljive. Well, that's my time for episode 47 of the Undrafted podcast. I want to take this time out to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for blessing me with the gifts, the talents, and the resources to do this. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and hang out with me on this podcast. I need everybody to do me a favor. If you're listening to this podcast, I go to Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church here in Dallas, Texas. And if you would, and if you could, please take time out of your day to say a prayer for Dr. Tony Evans and his wife, Lois. Of course, she was diagnosed with gallbladder cancer earlier this week. So we want to take this time out to keep Dr. Tony Evans and his family and his wife, Lois, keep them in your prayers that, God will touch her with his healing hands and give them comfort, peace, and strength during this difficult time. Also, want to say a prayer for Nipsey Hussle's family. Of course, everybody already knows what happened with that situation. So rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle, and keep Lauren London and his kids and his family in your prayers. There's just entirely too much violence going on in this world. We have got to get to the point where we respect one another's lives. Because when you take somebody's life, you're not just taking that person's life. It doesn't just affect them, it affects those around them that love them the most. So please remember, respect everybody. Even if we have a disagreement, let's just agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, while we may disagree, let's still respect each other. Let's love and respect each other. We don't have enough love and enough respect in this world. Please, please, please love and respect one another. Treat others as you would have them treat you. And remember, do your best and let God handle the rest. Be blessed.